Hey everyone, thank you for joining me this evening for Behind the Screen. I am your host and Dungeon Master, and I can tell my volume is a little too loud. Alright, so that should be a little bit better. Doing my own mic check. Good. Alright, so again, thank you for joining me this evening. I'm your host and Dungeon Master, Cranio Dad, and I run a group on Friday nights called Harlequins Requital here on this channel. We usually start right around 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and I like to recap the previous episode and give you an idea of what it's like behind my screen as a DM, to take questions and answers from you fine folks, as well as to share information. Sometimes it's talking about the current campaign. In this case, this evening, I've got a list of things about the future state of things that I'm working on, but we'll get to that after we talk about the campaign. So, this week, our adventurers found themselves still within the Dragon Hatchery, which is Chapter 3 of Horde of the Dragon Queen. There was an event that seemed to have taken place to where Toril, the newly found and much admired druid that assisted them for the beginning part of this this endeavor, was pulled into the ether at the same time that Akira was climbing over a hillside, and then Quabrudlum reached over to try to stop her from phase shifting or whatever, and was taken with her, as was a whatever that thing was. Yeah, the little tiny dragon dudes that like to mess people up. So they seemed to disappear, leaving us with just three heroes deep inside of a cave, facing who knows what. And I made the determination early on that what I was going to do in this very particular situation was I was going to roll some dice and see what happened at every single step. There was a lot of different options that could have been played out. There were other parts of this cave that they have not experienced as of yet, and I wanted to see how the dice rolled. And fortunately, I think on behalf of the players, it rolled in their favor. They were pretty badly beaten up. They were low on health. Their healer was pretty much out of spell slots. Their wizard was gone. Their monk was there, which was great. So they had a monk and a very interesting hybrid. But they were able to handle it, and I tried to give some indication as they were doing things that they had an assistant, which was the dragon, and that was because I rolled a 4 on my d20. I needed to roll a 5 or less in order to have the dragon be able to intervene to get them out, and fortunately on behalf of the players, that is what took place. So there were parts that were undiscovered, but in the end, they were able to collect 3 dragon eggs, 2 of which I believe were, if not all 3, were given back to the dragon. And they were able to teleport out of the cave by touching the symbol and touching the egg that belonged to the dragon. And she was able to will them out of the cave to her, right outside the cave. And she left some presents, most notably some healing potions, some gold, and a mysterious book that had draconic word for the word 4, and then Toril's name in Elven. So they made their way back to Nightstone, or not Nightstone, thinking of another campaign, Sea Castle Mac. This is what happens when I watch your channel. But they made it back to Greenest, and they were able to get some rest, and got some news that Leosin had headed over to Etriel, and they misheard, or maybe I misled them a little bit. They were to pick up the trail of the raiders, and find out where it went, and then meet Leosin in Etriel. And they kind of got lost in the picking up the tracks. They spent a fair amount of time on a fairly heavily traveled road. To be fair, I would have given them more direction if they would have rolled in the neighborhood of a 27 or 28. Based on how heavily traveled the road was, looking for track marks, footprints to give any idea of direction. I mean, that's just how it rolls. But they didn't roll high enough. They did a lot of investigation, which was good, and I really admire that. But they needed to get to Itriel. They were right outside of the gates, just near it, about a couple hour travel away. And they are getting ready to enter the town in search of Leosin, who is meeting with Onothar Froome, who happens to tie into the backstory from one of the characters, and I hope that they don't forget that, because it will be interesting if they do. Leosin also ties into the backstory of a couple of the, well, now one of the other characters, and by name, another one of the characters, but not by person. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. There's a fair amount of travel coming up for the next episode or two. I watched Castle Max, where he was working with Arcane Library this other day, and they were talking about how to deal with on the road travel for Storm King's Thunder, which is something that we never got to when I started running through Storm King's Thunder, and I really like some of the things that he was talking about. So I'm probably going to wind up trying to engineer that as well. I think there's a problem in general with travel, and they hit all these points. So, if you're not following Castle Mac, please do. They're amazing folks. They're RVA fam. But they hit all these points in their discussion, which was that, if you're doing episodic and milestone leveling, then it really doesn't do much. Random encounters kind of, they slow down progress. They really don't do anything for the story. They're meant to serve a purpose. They absolutely, positively have a purpose, but there may be some better ways and some more interesting ways to get the players involved in their own story to talk about on the road travel. So I may experiment with that for the rest of this chapter, and a couple other chapters that are coming, or parts of chapters are coming up that is just a lot of travel. I think that it is interesting, but it's not really a high selling point for me for Dungeons and Dragons. It's all about keeping the players engaged and keeping the adventure going, and random encounters kind of pull away from that. So that is the bulk of what happened this week. I think that from my side of the screen, knowing that the players were going to end up with only having 3 players, we had one who became sick, and Toro may or may not be coming back. She's definitely more than welcome to come back. But knowing that they were going to be down to 3 players, I knew that they were going to be in a bit of a lurch. But I think that, and also knowing that one of those players to the campaign as a NPC, as a PC, is completely new to the group. They've known him for less than an hour. I knew that was going to be really interesting, but I think that they played really well. I think that they kind of realized that the position that they were in, which was not all that unintentional, forced them to work together to get a way out. For one of the players' story arcs, which was Vander, he had done one of the things that he wants to do, which he has completed, but there's other things that he's trying to do that over time are probably going to come out. When it comes to the other 3 players of the main group, for Stephen, Jonathan, and Susanna, they're still trying to figure out what it is they need to do, and that's on me as a DM. I think that there's some stuff that I can add to this tale to help them figure that out, but it's going to be interesting. So I'm really intrigued to see how in town's going to go and how long they're going to spend in town. It's going to be a little bit of time before they actually have an opportunity to level again, but there's going to be a lot of stuff that they're going to go through, which is building the story. I'm purposefully trying to run the story as true to page as possible. I'm taking some liberties with some parts of it, but for right now, I'm trying to stick pretty true to the core, and that's because I'm challenging myself, because I thought that this campaign was a bit of a wash, but I'm actually having a lot of fun with it, and it seems like we are at the table as well. For episode 8, which is phenomenal for me to know that we are already here in episode 8 this week, we'll be dealing with some in-town, we'll be dealing with some factions. Some factions are going to get introduced to see how the players handle that, or what they choose to do with that. It's going to be all around interesting. I'm going to do my best to try to keep it lively and entertaining. That's kind of my shtick, my thing. But there's that. So that is literally the super short recap, because it was a lot of fighting, and the players again did really well for only having 3. I think that they did a really good job of handling multiple attackers and trying to gain solid footing and solid ground, as well as supporting each other when they could. I think that tells a lot about the group. They were able to get teleported out because of some dice rolls on my end. They completed a side quest, which is amazing, and they got some gold for it and some healing potions, which are desperately needed. And we'll see where this particular story takes them. The reason that I'm making this evening a little bit short is because there's a lot on my plate that I want to talk about, that I'm really super excited about. For those that have been following my blog or saw on Twitter, or anywhere else, I made an announcement this morning that some cool stuff is happening. But before I dive too deep into that, I just need to check something really fast. If you haven't been following along, it would be totally remiss of me not to talk about the fact that as of this afternoon, at 12:58 this afternoon, Critical Role, one of the arguably largest channels, if not even arguably, the largest channel consuming Dungeons and Dragons, and one of the main reasons that is regaining popularity so much, launched their Kickstarter campaign to do The Legend of Vox Machina, an animated special. I have backed this, but you'll see why that really doesn't matter if you haven't been following along. They had an original pledge goal of $750,000. Their goal was to do about a 22-minute animated film that started before episode 1 for year 1, season 1, before Vox Machina started to grace our presence on Twitter or on Twitch. As of right now, I've got it up and running. It's at 3.1 million and climbing pretty consistently. They've hit every single one of their stretch goals. I am completely surprised and also incredibly amused with what is going on, and I am so anxious to see what they're going to produce. The reason I say that's not important that I backed it is because I'm not trying to sell you guys on backing it, because they've already met all their goals. Even their furthest stretch goal, which was 3 million, they eclipsed that about an hour ago. So for those of you that watch Dungeons and Dragons here on Twitch, you have obviously run across Critical Role. This is awesome. For those of you that don't watch Dungeons and Dragons or haven't seen that much of it, Critical Role is an amazing channel to watch. And I'm super stoked to see what they're going to come up with. And if you haven't seen the video on their Kickstarter, it's definitely worth the 6 minutes and 8 seconds worth of watch. So that out of the way, just because it's amazing. So as for some of the things that I have going on, so I alluded to in my blog that I finally got 3 hours of sleep consecutively without being woken up, which is rare in this household. And because of that, I actually had a dream, which was just based on a lot of conversations I've been having on social and in personal life, especially with my wife, and just thinking about things going on with this channel. And there's a lot of opportunity for this channel to continue to grow. I mean, we're small numbers, but I'm very happy to have 20 followers at this point. We've got gifts to give away, we've got prizes, we've got all sorts of stuff in the works, and it's amazing to watch this continue to grow. But I see an opportunity for something, and I would be stupid not to do it. So long story short, on May 21st, there is a new campaign book coming out by Wizards of the Coast called Ghost of the Salt Marsh. Now this is very much like Tales from the Yawning Portal, to where it's a collection of other adventures or small campaigns put together. I don't know how they're going to weave this together just yet. Sometimes they give you bridges, sometimes they don't. But it goes live digital and should be at my doorstep on May 21st. So on May 25th or no later than June 1st, which are both Saturdays, I will be starting another campaign. Now, Friday's still going to happen. Harlequin's Requital is still going to be a thing, and it's still going to get just as much love and attention as it already does, if not more so. But my goal is to get out there early, as soon as I can. I have a penchant for reading rather quickly. If you can't tell by my rate of speech, my reading rate is even faster. With a rather high comprehension and a fast reading, my goal is to be able to read the entire book, figure things out, and go live. So this campaign is going to be completely on Discord, so it's going to be open up to everyone. I'm going to try to build a group over the next month or so. I'm going to try to get some advanced knowledge as to what kind of characters, what kind of stories. I know these are based on older stories, and I may or may not already have those. So I'm going to do some light reading and figure some things out. But it's going to be completely done on Discord and Roll20. It's going to take place on Saturday evenings. And I've already got some naming stuff that I've got to work through, and I've already started working on graphics because that's what I do. And that's going to change some of the things that we do overall. So again, Harlequin's Requital is still going to be on Fridays. That's never going to change. I have plans even after we finish the Tyranny of Dragons set for this group, for any of the other books that I've got stacked up over here that my wife would love for me to use. So this group will be broadcast on Saturdays. This behind the scenes is going to move to Tuesday nights. And the behind the scenes for the new group, for the Saturday group, will be done on Thursdays, and it will end before Critical Role goes live. I'm not trying to go up against the clock with Critical Role, and that's kind of why I wanted to talk about the fact that they're doing this big Kickstarter. They are huge, and I would be dumb to think that anybody wants to watch little old me and when they could be watching Critical Role. So there's going to be enough time in between for the people who want to watch me and those who really want to watch Critical Role. But I haven't nailed down the time just yet. It all depends on timing. I try to keep this thing about an hour, but we'll get there. And yeah, so that'll be on Thursday before Critical Role. So for those that are watching this on YouTube, I do publish these on YouTube. Some of these schedules are changing. In fact, all these schedules are changing effective next week. So next week's Behind the Screen will be on Tuesday, because I just need to get into a cycle now. The videos on YouTube are no longer going to be premieres, because I need to dedicate time to preparation over the next, it sounds like a lot of time, but it really isn't, in the next 2.5 months, because there's a lot to do on my end, especially for a digital game. So the videos from Friday's group will go live on Monday. Down the line, the Saturday group will probably be premiered for the first month or so, and they'll go live on Tuesday. Behind the Scenes will go live on YouTube on Tuesday, around the same time that the Saturday episode goes live. Is that right? No, I'm sorry. Behind the Scenes will go live on Thursday, so it's the night before the campaign. Again, with more than enough time for Critical Role, or you can watch it whenever, because YouTube is our video on demand. And then the Behind the Scenes for the new group will go live. It'll be after the episode airs, so it will be on 1 episode lag until I get some scheduling stuff figured out. But that's where we're going to be for a little bit. So you're going to see some schedule shifts on my regularity. I'm probably going to be doing some test stuff, and I'll make it very clear that this is, I'm doing a stream test. I'm doing some fun stuff. In fact, I want to test some stuff since I have a few people in here just to see how things go. So I'm trying to add some new assets to our stream already, just to see how things work. And I don't know if these are going to work, but it's worth trying to figure out. And so that one does work. I've added a few things that looks like I've got some fighting going on. That's great. I need to get rid of that stream element stuff. But anyway, there's a few elements that I'm adding for you guys to see. You're going to be able to type in players' names and get a brief description on the player and the person who is playing the player. And you're going to be able to type in things about me. The Discord server is there. In fact, if you wanted to even test that now, if you happen to know our players' names, and there should be little bubbles over here. For those of you on Twitch, if you want to just type in ! And then any of the first names of the players, you might actually be able to see some of the stuff that I've got in there already. I've got all of them covered at this point, with the exception of Toril, but I'll get to her. So I'm super stoked about being able to do Ghosts of the Saltmarsh. I think that it's going to be really good, not just for me, but for this channel and for the community as well. I'm looking forward to bringing in a lot of interesting aspects, since it's going to be completely digital. I'm looking for, I'm sure that there's probably 1 or 2 people from my current campaigns that may want to play, but I'm going to, I'm going to try to make it heads or tails of it, figure out exactly what I need to do. I don't know if I'm going to run a larger group. I don't know if I'm going to run a smaller group. There's benefits to both. Mostly smaller groups are really good for combat because the rounds go really quick. but larger groups are a lot more flexible. So I've got a lot of options on the table. I've got a couple of good DM friends that I'm going to be hitting up and asking questions to, just to see what they are able to make heads or tails of. But I'm unbelievably excited about that. So yeah, there's new stuff. You can even type in exclamation point Craniodad to see something about me, and then there's that leads into some other things as well. But I'm really excited with not just what this group is doing, but what we're going to be able to do as a group. I'm hoping to be able to do some one-shot stuff down the line. I'm hoping to bring in and start doing interviews. Now, I talked about doing interviews originally with this group before we even really went live, and that's something I still want to do, to where I interview the person and the character. For those that watch Critical Role, think between the sheets, right? I want you guys to get to know the players. I want you to get to know their PC, and talk about stuff like that. I'm hopefully going to be able to reach out to some people here in the local RVA area. I've got a few names, and I've got a few contacts. I'm going to try to get some good character art. We need to redo our intro, but unfortunately the guy who does our intros, who's in this chat, is down to one arm for a little bit, and I really don't want to mess with that. I think I really like the talent that he brings to the screen, and I want to keep it that way. I don't want to pay somebody to do it, so there's that. I can just give him some stroop waffle and we'd be all good. But there's a lot that's going to go on in the next few months for these players. When I sit back and I think about where we are as a channel and where they are when it comes to the story, I see that there's a lot of potential for this story to be eclipsing, and a new one starting probably May, June, or probably maybe June, July. I will talk more and remind people that there will be a station break where I'll be taking 2 to 3 weeks off of broadcasting. My daughter has a surgery coming up. So it's going to be interesting to see where we're at. I kind of hope that we're able to stretch Harlequin's Requital out a little bit, so I'm not trying to stand up a new group and a new idea and a new campaign and stand up another campaign for this group all at the same time, because that's just utter chaos. So it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys hanging around and offering advice and offering comments. It's a lot of things that I have to do here behind the screen that often gets missed. When I was thinking about what to do for the new group for Ghost of the Saltmarsh, it's one of those things that to have people come here would just add hours onto my week that I'm not able to spend with my family. And so it's things like that I really want to focus on, and why it's going to wind up being, it's going to be like you guys are seeing everywhere else. It's going to be a bunch of Discord chat, and I love Roll20. I know that everybody else, not everybody likes Roll20, but I really do like how the interface works. I know Roll20 well enough that I can kind of do things mindlessly. So, and I like the fact that it's free for the players. I don't mind paying $5 a month. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all gets integrated. And I can't promise you guys amazing things, but I can promise you my best. And so we are now at about 26 minutes, give or take, which is incredibly short for these. But again, we covered what happened. We talked a little bit about what may happen. We talked about what I am working on, which is awesome, in my opinion. And I hope you guys want to hang around for the ride to talk more about some of the prizes. So you guys should already know by now that for every 20 followers that we get, I have a starter set that I'm able to give out. And my wife wants to edit my descriptions, probably because I can't spell. It works. I will remind you. Thank you. Yeah, there's a long delay. Sometimes, Shades are. There's nothing I can do about that. I see I see a lot of delay sometimes. Sometimes it's just a few seconds, sometimes it's a couple minutes. However, so every 20, I have a starter set. The grand prize when we reach 100 followers, which is what that little thing down there means, the race to 100, is going to be the limited edition foil cover box set for the Dungeon Master Guide, Player's Handbook, and Monster Manual and DM screen. The super nice thing that everybody kind of wants. I have one copy in the house. I can't open it. That's for you guys. I've had conversations with a dice manufacturer who's going to think about doing a limited run of metal dice for us to give away. I have a friend of mine who is willing to donate a copy of Art and Arcana as a giveaway item for us to do this. And I have a conversation ongoing right now for another thing that would be kind of cool to give out. So my intent is that every 20 it will grow until we get to 100. So when we hit to 40 followers, we'll have 2 prizes to give away. At 60, we'll have 3. At 80, we'll have 4. And 100, we'll have 5. So that's my goal. We'll see if I can get there or more. And then from there, I've got new goals to go. After we reach about 50 or so followers, the Dissonant Whispers is going to change to where it's only follows or subs at that point. Because the chats are definitely there, and I don't think we're ever going to have a problem with not having enough chat on Friday night. I have long thought of rebranding Harlequin's Requital to D&D After Dark because our chats are crazy. But, you know, there's a lot that we have going on. We got a lot of prizes. We're a growing channel. I've got a lot of passion for what I'm trying to do and why I'm trying to do it. This is just me and my friends having fun and playing Dungeons and Dragons. And we're going to play it our way. And hopefully you can get some ideas that you can take back to your table or consider having a table of your own. That's the entire intent of what we're trying to do here, is just to have fun. If we could have other people watch us and interact with us and in effect change upon our story, why not? You know, let's use this amazing technology we have buzzing around us every single day to do something awesome. So with that, we're at 30 minutes. Are there any questions besides my wife wanting to edit my descriptions after the stream? Are there any other questions that you guys have for me about either what has happened on Friday, what has happened every Friday, where we're planning on going for the Friday group, the plans for Ghosts of Saltmarsh? If you guys have any questions, now's a good time to ask. It's one of those opportunities that you get to where you have, you know, untethered access to a DM for, you know, an undetermined length of time based on what I see in chat. And I'll just keep talking unless nobody else has anything to say, or I'll end the stream one way or the other. I'm not too worried about it. This whole thing is for you guys more than it is for everyone else, and I really look forward to it. So seeing that there aren't any questions, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and probably end the stream and launch a raid. I know that Castle Mac is currently playing because I was watching them earlier, and again, they're amazing people. They're good people. So if you want to know more, feel free to reach out to me on any of my social media or personally if you know me. And yeah, keep staying tuned. We'll see you guys on Friday. If you want to watch me play instead of DM, I don't think we're playing this week for Wednesday's group, but I believe we'll be back up and running hopefully next week for continuing our incredibly awesome journey through Waterdeep Dragon Heist. So with that, thank you again so much for hanging out. I will see you guys on Friday, and take it easy.